Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. And you know, what's today? Thursday? Gosh, I wish we had anything to talk about today. Just kidding. Obviously, there's a lot going on, and I want to get to the anti-Semitism bill that just passed in the House because apparently Republicans don't care about the First Amendment anymore. So, but the bill makes them feel good. It feels good to do right now. So now there's no such thing as hate speech. It should be policed, I guess. I'll get into that with the panel. But first, I want to take you through the latest on, presumably, I would think, why this bill that I just talked about is even a thing, which is what is going on at college campuses across the country. So at UCLA, where independent journalist Anthony Cabasa told me yesterday that there was just absolute mayhem, chaos, violence happening overnight 2 nights ago, and police just, A, weren't there and did nothing about it for hours and hours. And then B, once they got there, the police still waited 30, 45 minutes to even jump in as people were being bloodied. So just absolute chaos there, okay? The pro-Hamas students over at UCLA released a list of needs for their little slumber party. But I just want to go ahead and warn you. Let's put this out here. The needs, according to this document, must be BDS compliant, first of all right? So let's get that straight. And so in these demands, they've got different categories. The one at the top is urgent. It says headlamps, airsoft goggles, gas masks, and respirators, especially for our medics, shields, knee and elbow pads, utility gloves, especially for small hands. Yes, that's about right. I would imagine so. There are a lot of soy-filled pansies in the ranks. They're like, these gloves are too big. I need gloves for small hands. That's just so perfect. And it goes on to medical needs. It says EpiPens, inhalers, which the EpiPen and inhaler are not listed under urgent, but utility gloves for baby hands is. I don't understand why an EpiPen would not be at the top of the list under urgent, but I don't understand a lot of things about these people, I guess. And then, of course, in medical needs, they list headlamps, which y'all already listed headlamps at the top. Your parents are paying, $30,000, $50,000 a year, and you haven't learned how to write a simple list? That's a waste. I'd say that's quite a waste of money. Okay, their parents need a shirt. I paid $50,000 a year for my kids' college, and all I got was a dumbass protesting for terrorists who can't write simple lists. Put that on a shirt. I want to sell it. So the list is not done, of course. There's food. Food is on the bottom. Yeah, there it is. Food, hot food for lunch. Important with 2 exclamation points. Well, again, if that's important enough for 2 exclamation points, why is it not at the top of the list with the important stuff? Please explain this to me. And why is it it's got to be hot food? Why? You spoiled, entitled little brats have been taking a shit in a bucket. You gone without a shower for days. You probably smell like, I don't know, Satan's butthole. But a cold lunch is beneath you. That's where you draw the line, okay? So you're going to the bathroom in buckets. You're sitting in your own filth. But a cold lunch is beneath you. Explain that to me. Has to be hot. Okay. All right. And by the way, don't forget gluten-free and vegan food. Only the best for these snot-nosed criminals. Then we've got logistics on the list. All right. Among them, a rope, zip ties, and lotion, which, what the hell's going on over there? Is 50 Shades of Grey? That sounds like something else is about to happen entirely. What are they doing in these encampments? I don't know. I've seen these people. I don't want to know. All right. But also, no sunscreen. I would like for someone to please, anyone, please send me a message write in the comments. Please tell me why no sunscreen is a must. Why? Like, you want lotions on there, okay? Which, again, don't know what you want with the rope and the zip ties and the lotion. Don't want to know. You want lotion, you need Aquaphor. Aquaphor's on the list. But the sunscreen, you're above it. These people are stupid, okay? So over at UCLA, where they've made their list of demands, they need Aquaphor and lotion, but no sunscreen and a hot lunch, please. Well, you'll be shocked to hear how that turned out after a standoff with the terrorist sympathizers. Riot police with the California Highway Patrol finally cleared their little slumber party last night, of course, after several scuffles and back and forths, and they began pulling down the barriers as flashbangs continued to be detonated by other officers, just one after the other after the other. You can see here on the scene, you hear the flashbangs and you see them, but you can hear them in the background as you see officers begin to finally get those barriers and begin just pulling them down, as they should, because, by the way, there was a little bit of a back and forth when officers arrived. They had two different lines going on, and the officers retreated at one point. They were trying to figure out how they were going to manage a bunch of, soy-filled pansies who need small gloves. Not sure what the problem was. And so here they are, dispersing the crowd more. Oh, those little screams. They couldn't believe that the officers actually ended up, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I try to reserve the cursing for when it really matters, so I'll just say FAFO. All right. And of course, the remorse set in as the students began getting arrested. Here's one of those.
I'm a student here. I'm an English major. Please don't fail us. Don't fail us.
Wait, I'm a student here. Wait, don't arrest me. Please, I'm an English major. Okay, bro, you're still going to jail. You still broke the law. So look, I get it. There were a bunch of people arrested and they may be feeling like they are, they're sad. They're, in dire straits. But I do have some good news for these protesters who are concerned that their college careers may be over. It turns out that the University of Tehran over in Iran is offering free tuition to those who are protesting and getting expelled. I'm not kidding. This is actually happening. Free tuition over at the University of Tehran. And I just wonder how that's going to turn out for the Queers for Palestine. Who may be they're a little confused. They don't know very much about this cause that they are chanting for. And so if they do decide to take Tehran up on that, I would implore them not to head on to any rooftops. None. Just no matter what the nice people over there tell you, don't head up to any rooftops, okay? Now, you might be wondering, as many are, where is our, Weekend at Bernie's leader? Where is Joe Biden? Well, today he finally answered a few questions on the protest. Now, I do use the term answered very loosely. Here's Joe Biden.
Mr. President, has the protest forced you to reconsider any of the policies with regard to the region?
No. Thank you.
Mr. President, do you think the National Guard should intervene?
No.
Mr. President, do you agree with what the students are calling for?
Mr. President, the former president said that he was no...
Wow. Okay. So would you like to change any of your policies? No. Do you want to consider maybe bringing National Guard out there? No. Thanks, Joe. I feel much, much better about things. Now, there is a silver lining here because yesterday over at UNC Chapel Hill, the Pi Kappa Phi fraternity. Did I say that right, guys? Is it Phi or Phi? It's Phi, Pi Kappa Phi. I don't know. You can tell Pike. It doesn't even say Pike. Control's telling me that. No, what? Okay. I don't know. I obviously didn't associate with fraternities because I was a giant dork in college. But the fraternity brothers stepped in over at UNC Chapel Hill to ensure that the American flag, yes, did not touch the ground. As you'll see, people are hurling objects at them. They're shouting profanities at these people, and they are holding up an Israeli flag and holding up just making sure that the American flag did not touch the ground as a true patriot. There they are. This is going to be one of the most iconic pictures of this time period. I mean, I would say 2024, but I don't even think that begins to encapsulate it. This will live in the history books as one of the most iconic pictures. True patriots there. And look, when we talk about this debate of, losing our patriotism in this country, living alongside people who literally go to the streets and chant death to America while they enjoy all of the fruits of America. So, of course, the irony is not lost on me there. But if you start feeling blue about I don't know, maybe we're losing this country, maybe true patriotism doesn't exist anymore, we're just such a small handful of people, I think we're dying out. I think the radicals are taking over. Well, a GoFundMe was set up for these frat brothers to throw a rager for them, which, by the way, I want to read the description of this GoFundMe. It said, commie losers across the country have invaded college campuses to make dumb demands of weak university administrators. But amidst the chaos, the screaming, the anti-Semitism, the hatred of faith and flag, stood a platoon of American heroes armored in vineyard vines and Patagonia, fueled by Zin and White Claws. These triumphant Bohemians protected Old Glory from the unwashed Marxist horde, laughing at their shrieks and wails and shielding the stars and stripes from Soviet missiles. These boys, men of the UNC Chapel Hill fraternity, gave the best to America, and now they deserve the best. Help us raise funds to throw this frat the party they deserve, a party worth of the boat-shoed proletariat who did their country proud. Wow, that is epically based. So this GoFundMe, as of this afternoon, they've raised over $435,000. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Hamas sympathizers are begging for lotion. Please give us the lotion, but no sunscreen. No sunscreen. Aquaphor, please. Oh, these are the next generation, ladies and gentlemen. So up next, I want to bring my panel in and get their thoughts on all the protests and the anti-Semitism bill that I mentioned. We'll have more details on that. It just passed the House because, where'd the First Amendment go? I don't know. I don't see it. We'll get into that when we come back. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Preborn. So as Mother's Day quickly approaches, yes, honey, Mother's Day is coming up soon. Don't forget. Just kidding. He doesn't forget. I want to highlight for you an organization that cares for mothers, and that is Preborn. And what Preborn does is their network of clinic offers love and support to pregnant women who are feeling scared and alone. They're being lied to by the left, and they're being pressured by the left to make this ultimate choice that is not only going to sacrifice the life of their baby, but it's also going to lead to a life full of regret. And when a distressed mother comes to Preborn, she's welcomed there with open arms, and she's offered the truth, which is a free ultrasound to see her baby, to hear the heartbeat inside of her. And those of you who are parents, you know this, okay? The first time you hear your baby's heartbeat, it's life-changing. It's no different for these single moms or for these mothers in need. And the majority of the time, once she hears that and she sees it on the ultrasound, she's going to choose life for her baby. By the way, Preborn has been tremendous in not just providing for the mother before the baby, they're actually providing for the mother and the baby up to 2 years after the baby is born. They truly are doing God's work. So this Mother's Day, you can help bring life to both a mother in need and an at-risk baby. One ultrasound is only $28. 5 ultrasounds are $140. How many ultrasounds, how many babies' lives can you save? I would appreciate you guys going to preborn.com/Sarah. You can donate securely there. I want to challenge you guys. How many babies' lives can you save over at preborn.com/Sarah? All right, joining me now, we've got a full table here today, kids. Buckle up. It's going to be fun. We've got Matthew Marsden, BlazeTV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire. And on her maiden voyage on the show, I am so excited. We've got Breanna Morello, of course, host of the Breanna Morello Show. in person. Glad that you're here, along with BlazeTV contributor Jaco Booyens, of course, founder of Jaco Booyens Ministries as well, doing great work over there. I'm happy that you guys are here.
Thank
I
you.
said at the beginning of the show, I'm like, gosh, if only there were things to talk about today. Oh, wait, there's a ton. So I want to get your thoughts on all of the protests that are happening on these college campuses, but I want to throw into the mix here. The House of Representatives just passed an anti-Semitism bill yesterday. Of course, they say it's aimed at addressing anti-Semitism on college campuses. This is what we call a knee-jerk reaction, okay? So New York Republican Mike Lawler introduced the House bill, and it secured a 320 to 91 vote. Of course, now it goes to the Senate. And so there was 21 Republicans, 70 Democrats who opposed the legislation. Here are some of the GOP members who voted no. The usual suspects, those who are standing for actual, freedom and liberty and the Constitution only. Andy Biggs, Lauren Boebert, Josh Brecheen, Eric Burleson, Michael Cloud, Andrew Clyde, Mike Collins, Elijah Crane, Warren Davidson, Byron Donalds, Matt Gaetz, Paul Gassar, MTG, Harriet Hagman, Clay Higgins, Wesley Hunt, Anna Paulina Luna, Thomas Massey, Ralph Norman, Matthew Rosendahl, and Chip Roy. I would say that I want to be on the side of those people, because those are the people that I trust. So I want to give some of the details of what this means. Because again, the knee-jerk reaction is like, well, maybe we do need that. There's a lot of anti-Semitism going around. Okay, so the bill targets the adoption of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism. That's the IHRA. This was by the Department of Education, which stinks to high heaven already, okay? And it was intended to strengthen the 1964 Civil Rights Act enforcement on college campuses. So I want to read to you some of the definitions of anti-Semitism according to this. It's, a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews, which last time I checked, it's not illegal to hate someone for any reason. It kind of sucks and it kind of makes you a jerk, but shouldn't be illegal. So calling for aiding or justifying the killing or harming of Jews in the name of a radical ideology or an extremist view. That's wrong. Okay. But it also goes down the line. And then you hear accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish person or group, or even for acts committed by non-Jews, denying the fact, scope, mechanisms, e.g. gas chambers, or intentionality of the genocide of the Jewish people at the hands of, Nazi Germany. So it gets a little bit dicey in some of these definitions of anti-Semitism, using symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, like claims of Jews killing Jesus or blood libel, to characterize Israel or Israelis. I'm going to go ahead and say that's a hate speech bill. That's it. That is a hate speech bill. And now all of a sudden, I guess Republicans are like, yeah, the First Amendment, but only up to a certain point, I guess. Breanna, for your first time on the show here.
Yeah.
Go ahead and kick us off.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah. It's so crazy to me because I don't understand why we've gotten to this place right now, right? We have the government deciding what's best for us between TikTok, the ban on TikTok, which everyone was like, yeah, this is great. Right. To me, I'm like, no, let's educate the American people, tell them why TikTok is bad, why they shouldn't be using it, and let them decide for themselves. Same thing with this. Why are they getting to decide what's anti-Semitic and what isn't? Mm-hmm. Who gets to be the decider in all of that? That's the real big question here. And why are we allowing the government to do this? Because I don't think that the government should intervene in any of these things. Yeah. Because who's to say that the next move isn't, saying Christ is king is now anti-Semitic. That is a conversation that is really, truly happening right now, which I personally don't want to wade into, but I'm just saying that seems like the slippery slope that we are led to with this type of bill. Again, I think the United States should stand with Israel. I've always been very unequivocally clear on that. But we also have to remember that free speech isn't just when it feels good for us. It's for everyone.
Yeah. Look, historically, when the pendulum swings in the opposite direction, it always, not seldom, always overcorrects.
Yeah.
Always. And you see that here. And it's a lack of a moral compass within the U.S. House. It's a lack of understanding of the Word of God. It's a lack of understanding of the history of the Jews. As you know, Sarah, my grandmother escaped the Holocaust. I'm 50% Jewish. It's a mischaracterization of Jesus in the Christ as King movement, in the movement, like you saw the Me Too movement hijacked, started right, hijacked. Black Lives Matter, hijacked. All these things, it's the same old, same old. Go see the ethnic origin of George Soros.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The very person in open society who's funding the students to stand against Israel on the Columbia campus. Go look at the heritage and the history of Adolf Hitler, right? You're gonna be pained to see how often it has been Jew against Jew. It has been black on black crime in Chicago. And then you find the Louis Farrakhan's perpetuating. This is the same stuff over and over again, swinging the pendulum, overcorrecting. It's a overstep. Mm-hmm. It's an overreach by the U.S. government, to your point, gross overreach, that is very dangerous because it kind of plays into the white man bad, white man new Nazi from just the other day. We didn't get a bill. We didn't get a bill that protect Caucasian men in this country. Where's the bill that really unilaterally protects, female students on campus, that want to play sports? But this time they overcorrect, and I think it's going to bite us. There's a different way to solve this problem. And the last thing I want to say, this whole thing of, the Jews killed Jesus. No Christian, which I am, that's my faith, it's my walk of life, walks around every day talking about who killed Jesus. Right. No, any human being decided whether Jesus was going to die or not die. He was sent by his Father from heaven to come pay a price that was not his to pay on behalf of others. Yes, Pontius Pilate washed his hands, a Roman, and said to the Jews, do you want Barabbas or do you want Jesus? They said, we want Barabbas, crucify Jesus. Do with that whatever you want to do with it. The history is the history. Right. The fact here is the pendulum overcorrects, and we've got weak leadership in DC.
Yeah, Matt, I just, I prefer that people tell me who they really are, right? Like I want people to say, if people want to deny that the Holocaust happened, I want to hear that from them. I want to know exactly who I'm dealing with because I want to know who to avoid, right?
It doesn't go away. I mean, you just drive it further underground.
Mm-hmm. And then they become more radicalized, which is what happens every single time you drive something further underground.
Every single time. And this is, as an Englishman and as a South African, you come to America.
You're an Englishman?
Well, all right.
That's how much Sarah knows her guests.
All right,
completely joking. She knows us well. What? She knows us well.
Born in England and coming here, one of the most amazing things about America is the amendments to the Constitution, which is, and the Constitution, is the First Amendment. Mm-hmm. It's very, very, very important. And look, again, you feel like and we shouldn't be doing this. So you feel like you have to qualify your opinion, right? Like, hey, listen, I'm 50% Jewish before you say it, right? Or I'm saying what I'm about to say.
I stand with Israel. Don't get mad at me.
And like, and like I'm saying, which it shouldn't change the facts of the matter, right? I made a movie 5 years ago called I Am That Man, which was about anti-Semitism because I saw the rise of anti-Semitism in the country, right? We saw it happening. But if this bill would have passed 2 months ago, every church in the country would have been done something illegal on Easter Sunday.
Pre-Easter, yeah, and Passover last weekend.
It would have been Easter. It would have been illegal. You cannot do this.
But that's next year's problem now. This is now next year's problem. This is real. This is where pastors are now saying, "Well, wait a second. Do I need to change my sermon? Do we retell the story differently?" Because there's truth, and this is what happens when conservatives cower and they don't have the gonads to do what is right according to our Constitution. You don't have a First Amendment in London. We don't have a First Amendment right in South Africa. Mm-hmm. This is the only nation on earth where you can actually speak your mind, unqualified, and exist. I don't have to agree with you, right? But now you're forced to think a certain way because DC said so.
And a wrong way, by the way. So when I did Black Hawk Down, we did a big press junket, right? And this one journalist stood up and he said, we should call this movie Black Man Down.
Back then?
What?
This was in the year 2001. And we were like, it's Somalia? Like, it's Africa?
And it's a helicopter that went down called a Black Hawk.
A Black Hawk, right? But the enemy was Somalians. Like there weren't anyone from anywhere else. It wasn't like a bunch of rampaging
Irish.
Swedes were there, right? Like it's not. So I mean, the truth of the matter is, it was back then. It was the Jews that did that. Now we all know the theology of it is that we're all responsible for that, right? You know, we're all participating in that as human beings. Like he died for our sins as Christians, right? But you can't change the fact that there were Romans in there, as you said. Pontius Pilate washed his hands of it, watched the Passion, but it was they offered up Barabbas, and the Jews that were there said,
Crucify him.
Crucify him. That's not us going around going, you know, we hate the Jews. It's in fact, most Christians are massively defensive over them and support Israel, like you said. Right. But you can't say like you said, and I say, I support Israel's right to defend itself. I don't want to send them any more money.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I don't support them.
Right, Breanna.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Because we have somebody who refers to himself as a constitutional attorney, as Speaker of the House right now, and he's still putting these types of pieces of legislation up for votes. And you're like, hold on, man, have you not read the First Amendment? I mean, he's not defending our constitutional rights at all. And we thought when we were getting Speaker Mike Johnson that we would be getting this warrior for our constitutional rights, and he has completely failed us. And I don't understand why most Americans aren't calling it out right now. I watched him as he sat here and allowed them to vote to extend warrantless FISA and then do the foreign aid bill. And then the very next day, I think it was a Monday or Tuesday, he's standing up at Columbia giving a speech about anti-Semitism. And you're like, hold on a second, why are we talking about that? Because you just waived our rights on these basic issues that should have been a no vote from anyone who understands what it's about.
Right.
I don't think he's getting enough, beat down for that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In fact, we just had I had a conversation about Mike Johnson yesterday with our friend Steve Baker. And I think Steve, usually Steve tends to give a little bit more grace and credit to people than I do, which just goes to show his personality versus mine. He's much nicer than me. But, we were talking about, is he compromised? What is going on? Because this is such a stark contrast. And I had someone tag me in something. I'd give you credit if I remembered who it was. I apologize. But someone tagged me in Representative Eli Crane, who voted no on this bill. And he was retweeting Tucker Carlson saying this would make, like, the New Testament would basically qualify as hate speech under this bill. Yeah. And Eli Crane said 4 of us went to Mike Johnson's office and we told him this, and he promised us that he would change it. And then he turned around and just sent it to the floor anyway. And it's like, I don't know how I can come to any other conclusion than something like someone has something on him. Something strange is going on behind the scenes, because I don't know why you would do that. You would betray your own people over and over and over like that, and just seem to not have any problem with it at the end of the day.
When we read, since we're talking about the Bible, and heck, I'm a pastor. You look at Joseph's story, right? Sold by his brothers, trafficked, literally sold into slavery. It takes a very strong man to stand and hold power, half the kingdom, and do the right thing. And what we've learned with Mike here is Mike is protecting his own backside. He's protecting the seat, because someone came, I can guarantee you, I don't have facts, but I can tell you, someone came into his ear and say, hey, you remember what happened with McCarthy? Mm-hmm. You play or we move you. We're going to remove you, buddy. And Mike is in self-preservation. When he stood there and said the right thing to do, you played it on loop. Yeah. He's saying, our border, our border, our border. And then the right thing to do was to send money to the Ukraine.
History will judge us.
Yeah,
sure will. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's pretty absurd, but if you guys recall, when he first took the speakership, he actually said that, when they were asking what his perspective is politically on a lot of issues, he said, well, I see it through, like, the lens of the Bible, I think was his quote on that. And he's completely different now. It's really just mind-blowing that he's shifted the way he has. And you just have to assume that there's some type of bribery involved in this. I mean, Democrats have already told him that if he were to push forward the foreign aid bill, that they'd protect him. And it looks like they're going to make good on their promise next week. And so, I mean, I just can't imagine how someone can make such a quick turnaround in about, 6.5 months? Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
That's why you don't trust anyone with a 72% Liberty Score bill.
I just don't trust rating. Any of them, to be honest. I don't. It's clear that they're not looking out for us. They don't care about us at all. Yeah. And I think that people need to, we say this over and over again about getting involved, right? People have to get involved because they feel like they are completely immune to any kind of push, any kind of criticism. And the one time when, you remember when the Tea Party came out and you could hear that, like, high pitched, as all their sphincters started tightening around because they were like, they're going to hold us accountable for this. This is a bad thing.
Yeah.
For them, I mean, a great thing for us. But then we kind of took our foot off the gas and said, okay, well, you know, it's the uniparty. You know this. We've spoken about this a 1,000 times. They don't care about you. Do you understand? They don't care about you. They only care about themselves.
Yeah. All right. We've got a lot more, but we've got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Well, going back to religion here, the United Methodist Church has lifted its 4-decade ban on LGBT clergy members by repealing a prohibition on self-avowed practicing homosexuals from being ordained or appointed ministers. So they voted yesterday. The delegates voted 692 to 51. And this actually is very personal for me because I actually grew up in the United Methodist Church, which it really makes me very angry that as they were talking about, they were discussing this rift and the split of the Methodist Church. Somehow, the normal United Methodists were like, yeah, you can keep our name and we'll just branch out and be called Global Methodists, which I don't understand why they ever agreed to that. Like, why would you, if you guys want to form your own faux religion that doesn't abide by the Bible and is just like for funsies because you want a club to make you feel special, you guys go form the new thing. We're keeping the old thing because we are biblical here. So it just really pisses me off. But so apparently, the report said many LGBT supporters in attendance at the conference reacted emotionally, hugging and crying at the decision. Applause also broke out after the vote. I was just having this conversation with my mom yesterday. It still shocks me and makes me feel like sick to my stomach every time I drive past one of these faux churches, these fake churches that have a pride flag or a trans flag or whatever, flying outside their facility. And I'm just like, I don't know why it still shocks me. I've seen it multiple times. And every time I cannot get over that this is where we're at. This is the state of religion in this country, that they have just been able to bastardize it and make it mean whatever the hell they want to mean. And you know what? Religion apparently needs to be more inclusive because facts don't matter, I guess. Matt?
I mean, what I don't know what to say. I mean, I've seen the destruction of the Church of England, which is, if you want to know where it's all going, you got to look over there, because I mean that has just been a complete disaster. And the great Anglican Church actually split, and they did say that they were like, "Listen, we're not going that way anymore." And then they, they were welcomed in underneath the Catholic Church, which, as a Catholic, we have our own problems. I can tell you about that. But again, it's this kind of, it's a lack of education in the faith. Yes. I mean, that's what it goes back to, is we're raising very, very weak moral leaders. And look, you can either choose to go somewhere or not choose to go somewhere, but don't change the teachings, right? I mean, that's what you're trying to say. I mean, it's very, it's very, very clear. But I said this the other day, I did a video on my podcast about the truth about the Crusades, because there's been a ton of lies about the Crusades and what the Crusades were about. If there was a crusade today, who would stand up and go, right? Who has been taught enough to understand the importance?
Sign me up. Tomorrow, frontline.
But it's the warriors, right? Yeah. But it's shrinking, Jaco. It's shrinking.
But it's also biblical. God will separate the wheat from the chaff, and the harsh reality that's sinking into America today is when you sat in the church pews and you looked to your left and your right, and Johnny and Stephen that were your friends, no pun intended with Stephen, not that Stephen, right? And you thought, well, they're a Christian because they show up. Those days are over. He is the way. His name is the way. He's the way, the truth, and the life. There's a way to live life if you're a Christian. You can't just say the word Jesus. You can't just say the name Christian. It's a lifestyle. It's a doctrine. It's a way of living. It's a constitution in itself. It's why the Bible is the most quoted text by the founding fathers. You can't mess with this stuff. This is not to be jacked around with. And we are in a country right now where I'm telling you, America has not had enough pain yet. It's telling me. The country is telling me the addict has not reached rock bottom yet. That's bad because it can get worse.
Yeah.
Anna.
I think it needs to get worse, honestly, because we need a harsh awakening. And I think we're almost on the verge of that, but we're not there yet, as you just said. I was shocked, actually. So on 2 occasions. Number one, I walked past a New York City church, and there was an apology for members of the LGBT community on the front of the church. And then when I was in D.C., I saw a BLM flag, and I was completely confused because I come from the suburbs in Long Island, and, well, we don't do that stuff where we're from. So my jaw hit the ground. But, I was talking to somebody about this, and they said that a lot of the donations that are coming into these churches are all kind of getting linked back to the World Economic Forum, and that's the reason why they're starting to push this into the churches. And so it's concerning, but I don't understand how people aren't outraged and trying to preserve what they have. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, look, for a lack of vision, people will perish. We do not know the word of God in this country. People are not reading the word of God. And so it's actually very easy to restore this country. Go back to truth. This novel thought. What an idea. Just go back to truth.
What they're actually trying to do now is they're confusing something. They're confusing kindness, right? Because kindness, what they're saying is like, oh, we're being kind because we don't want to tell them, we don't want to hurt their feelings.
We're being inclusive.
And what you're seeing now is literally people are getting mutilated because of this. But we've said multiple times about how planes are going to fall out of the sky because you're being kind because you don't want to say that person isn't good enough to get into college or qualify for this. That this is real. It's not kind enabling dysfunction. It's not. You're not helping anyone.
That's cruel.
It's really bad. I mean, we always say, like, if the same thing is, like, let's say you're an alcoholic, right? And I don't want to hurt your feelings by telling you that you're a drunk and that you're ruining your own family's life. How am I being kind by that? How am I being kind letting you get behind the wheel of a car? That's not being kind. That's being destructive. Like, we're called to be witnesses, and that's what we have to be. And again, it's a lack of education on what the faith really means. And if you are really educated on it, then you understand where you stand, and you can stand on principle and stand up against these people. But we're bombarded with this, and it's the left is just excellent. By the way, I want to tell everyone, go and look up Bella Dodd. Right, Bella Dodd in the 1940s, it's really, really important to understand how the communists tried to infiltrate the church. And they started all the way back then. This is not new.
Breanna, I'm going to give you last word here. So how many of these people, though, and I don't disagree with you guys, but how many of these people do you think do understand the word of God, but are too scared to speak up because they feel like they are going to be called mean names?
I was about to say that too. Yeah. I think people, most of them, honestly, I think people need to get over the name calling thing. I could care less what you want to call me whatever you want. You have to stand true to your morals. And I think most Americans, especially Americans, aren't willing to accept criticism from other people. And they're not willing to just push back and just say, you know what, that's great that you feel that way about me, but this is where my morals stand, and this is where I stand religiously. But nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to defend what they believe in these days. They'd rather bend a little bit and pretend like there's some middle ground here. We've been doing this for so long, and this is where we are now because of it.
And by the way, they've called us all the mean names already anyway, so who cares? Just let them. All right, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Well, last night, Kristi Noem went on Fox News with Sean Hannity to double down on killing her dog, Cricket. Watch.
Well, Sean, you know how the fake news works. They leave out some or most of the facts of a story. They put the worst spin on it. And that's what's happened in this case. I hope people really do buy this book and they find out the truth of this story, because the truth of this story is that this was a working dog and it was not a puppy. It was a dog that was extremely dangerous. It had come to us from a family who had found her way too aggressive. We were her second chance, and she was, the day she was put down was a day that she massacred livestock that were part of our neighbors. She attacked me, and it was a hard decision. And the reason it's in the book is because this book is filled with tough, challenging decisions that I've had to make throughout my life. And I hope that people understand from this that what the point of this story is that most politicians, they will run from the truth. They will shy away and hide from making tough decisions. I don't do either of those. I tell the truth and I make tough decisions. People attacked me during COVID for keeping my state open. They called me wrong and attacked me night after night on TV for not doing mandates and not forcing people to get vaccines or wear masks. They're doing it again now with this. I just hope people will read the book, find out the truth, because this was a dangerous animal. And I had a choice between keeping my small children and other people safe or a dangerous animal, and I chose the safety of my children.
Okay. Very interesting. From killing my puppy to, by the way, do you remember that I kept my state open during COVID? Interesting spin. So what gives, look, I got a lot of pushback from my viewers on this because I said it horrified me. I understand that I don't understand farm life. Maybe I'm going to give some grace there. Here's what I have a problem with. If that's all that it is, you don't seemingly brag about it by saying, I hated that dog and it was a terrible hunting dog, right? Like, if you do it, you understand, just as you would when you have to put down one of your horses if it breaks its leg, right? It's like, it's hard for you. It hurts you, but you know that you have to do it. This didn't seem like it was hard for her at all. She said, I hated that dog. So A, now you're kind of changing the language. B, anyone who was involved in reading this book and telling you it was a good idea to brag about assassinating your dog, you should fire. You should not have them around you in your inner circle. They're giving you bad advice because you should have never put all of those details in that book. For as much as you want to say, I just want to tell the truth about all the ins and outs of my life. Where's Corey Lewandowski in that book?
Hello. Hello.
Oh, hold on.
Hello.
Boom.
I doubt I will find him.
Run from the truth, accept the affair.
Right.
14 years of it.
Right.
14 years of running. Excuse me. Come on, man. Why is this getting any traction? Why are we?
Because she could be the potential vice presidential candidate. You don't think now?
Well, I mean, look, just having it in the book means she's a terrible decision maker.
I was asking you before the show, have you ever found Christy to be the brightest spark? I mean, come on. Self-awareness tells you, don't write this.
Yeah.
That's what I would think, Breanna.
Okay, I'm a dog person, disclosure. Yeah. I've rescued dogs. One of my dogs is actually not supposed to be around children because he has a history of biting children. And so I just know, because he's a senior dog when I got him, to not put him around children. All you have to do is go to a no-kill shelter and turn over your animal, and they will make sure to find a home that fits that dog. You don't have to put your dog down. That's well documented. The fact that she's out here bragging about this and talking about it, but then also plugging her book, like if you want to know the truth, make sure to read my book, is disgraceful in itself. I don't think she could save herself anymore. I think this is probably a PR nightmare because both on the left and the right, we could agree that killing animals is just wrong when it's pets, when it's dogs who we rely on for so many things, guide dogs, emotional support animals. I mean, all of these things. Dogs are our best friends, and most of us can connect with the dog. And so I think there's just no way. This is a PR nightmare for her.
Yeah. And again, I know you guys are going to be in the comments like, you don't understand farm life. I don't, but I do understand having empathy for a pet. And it does seem weird to me that you would have a dog, if this is true, have a dog that came in as you are their second chance, right? So you apparently already know that there's a history. Yeah. So what do? You let it off the leash so that it has access to, quote, massacre your neighbor's chickens? Well, if you already knew that the dog was going to do that, what kind of a chance did it stand if you weren't going to keep it where it couldn't be contained? Because to your point, Breanna, if you know that the dog has a history, you don't put the dog in a situation where it's going to fail. If you're their second chance.
Yeah.
But she's also given one option. It's binary, right? She goes, well, it was a bad dog, had to kill it.
I know.
Well, clearly the people before didn't think that.
Yeah.
Right.
They were like, it's a bad dog, let's give it a second chance.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about that is just not smart, the way she presents it. Like you said, she could have said, it was a really, really tough decision. I knew that if it would go, whatever kind of like softening she wants to do on the story. But you don't just go, well, a bad dog, shoot it in the head.
Right.
And again, it's this may well be true. Let's just say it's true for all the farming people. I get it. She's not just a farmer. She's a politician that's running a state that's going to run for VP or is running for VP. You cannot do that. It's marketing 101.
Look, it's self-implicated, right? Even okay, we presume it happened and it was done. She's the one who ousted herself and who talked about it. But in perspective, what concerns me, thank you for what you're doing for animals. Appreciate it. No, honestly. But in perspective, though, she's gotten more attention on the dog story than she did on the infidelity story.
Yeah.
She's had more coverage on killing the dog than cheating on her husband.
Yeah.
You know, betraying her children. She's not fit to be in a VP conversation on many levels. Animals harming animals, harming her own family. People make mistakes, but there was no slapback. And that to me says something about our culture. It says something about American society, that we've grown so numb to what really matters that the left has a field day with us. And that's why they do. That's why a Mike Johnson.
She's upset. She's upset.
Maybe upset. Maybe upset with me.
Look at what you've done. Look at what you've done to her,
You're the acting trainer. Do something.
Oh, man.
What's wrong with you? I'm just the director.
We need more. We need more. Give me more empathy.
Think of your grandmother.
Oh, man.
No, but seriously, it does say something about our culture. It's full circle. I'll tie this to the Mike Johnson thing. Why is there not real repercussion? Why is there not real, outfall about, betraying people like that? There's not real outfall on her betraying her husband. We seemingly don't care as a conservative movement in this country for people to actually live by a moral plumb line.
Yeah. And if you guys remember, if you remember though, she was the one who actually vetoed the legislation to make sure that men weren't playing in women's sports. And she fell weak to her donors, and that's
she did.
She is.
Yeah, and I know we got to go to break here, but like she was on this uprise. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, the new conservative star," and then she just completely failed the young women in her state on that. And that was when people started going, "Oh, okay, this is not what it seems." All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. I want to show you Judge Andrea Jarman in Seattle. She just dismissed all criminal trespass charges against half of the pro-Palestinian activists who blocked the highway for 4 hours this past January 6th. And see if you notice anything. Go ahead.
Judge Andrea Jarman sided with defense attorneys who disputed the charges of criminal trespass for 3 of the 6 defendants.
As to the charge of criminal trespass in the second degree, the court does not find probable cause.
The protest on January 6th was part of an action to show.
I'm shocked that judge dismissed the charges.
Nothing to see here, Sarah.
No, nothing at all. What?
Look the other way.
It was just, please.
There's no prejudice. Come on.
No.
You gotta love it's on January the 6th as well.
Yeah.
The irony.
I mean, so curated.
Yeah. I for one am shocked that judge in particular dismissed all of those charges. Nothing to see here. All right, make sure that you follow Matthew Marsden, Breanna Morello. Make sure that you subscribe to both of them. I know he is on YouTube. Are you on YouTube as well, or Rumble? Rumble. Make sure to go to Rumble for her and Jaco Booyens, of course, The Bottom Line, and helpjbm.org.